Government says it may resort to difficult choices to make Houthis accept peace. Years of conflict have damaged key medical infrastructure in the country. Displaced women continue to struggle with making a living amid the war. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English News with me, Shazad Delbey. Starting with Saudi Arabia and Egypt, where they expressed deep concern over Houthi terrorist danger on the security of international shipping routes. In addition, at the conclusion of the joint meeting in foreign ministers in Riyadh, the two sides affirmed their full support for the Presidential Council in Yemen to achieve stability and their full support for the UN and international efforts to extend the truce. War has affected all aspects of living in Yemen. Therefore, the Yemeni government is taking every path to convince the Houthis with peace. This report has more details.
The Yemeni Presidential Leadership Council reiterated on Wednesday its commitment to a just peace in an attempt to end the war in Yemen. It stressed, however, that it may resort to difficult choices to force the Iranian-backed Houthi militia to restore calm and end the state of neither war nor peace. Members of the PLC held various meetings with Western ambassadors as part of efforts to revive peace in Yemen that have stumbled because of Houthi stubbornness. Yemeni sources have expressed deep concern that the intense diplomatic efforts may be attempts to extract new concessions from the legitimate government. They tackled UN envoy Hans Granberg's efforts to restore the nationwide truce, as well as regional and international efforts to establish peace amid the constant Houthi escalation on the ground and the rejection of peace initiatives. Real peace begins when the lives of people are saved and when oil facilities are protected against Houthis' continuous attacks. Thus, the government urged Britain to play a greater role in economic support to Yemen and seeking all means to protect economic installations, so that the PLC and government can resume the production and export of oil. The UN Special Envoy is set to present a briefing before the UN Security Council meeting next week. On Wednesday, he concluded a visit to the Omani capital Muscat, where he met with the foreign minister and senior officials. The sides discussed developments in Yemen and regional and international efforts to renew the truce and work toward a political settlement and reach a sustainable peace.
The announcement by the United Nations of supporting the Houthi militia with vehicles met widespread discontent among Yemenis. In addition, the organization provided the militia with four-wheel drive cars under the pretext of desert control. This provision puts danger not only on Yemen, but also to neighboring countries, the region, and the world as a whole. The Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights called on the Houthi group to immediately release 4 Yemeni activists. 3 of them were video bloggers who have been detained since late December on charges related to freedom of opinion and expression. The organization said that it followed with great concern the start of the trial of the 4 activists by the Specialized Criminal Court in Sana'a. Due to the war, Yemenis' lives are now plagued by diseases and poverty, and thousands of families are left vulnerable as the country's economy continues to worsen. For many, life-saving treatment can be unaffordable. This report has more details.
This oxygen tank works around the clock next to Bandar, a 13-year-old child of a displaced family living in Al Jufaina camp in Ma'rib Governorate. 2 years ago, he suffered from an expansion of the lungs, according to the doctor's diagnosis. As his health worsened, he became completely reliant on artificial oxygen to survive. The family, who could hardly make ends meet, has had to reshuffle their priorities.
معاناة أسرة حزام أبو خلبة بذل جهد أكبر من This family has struggled more than anyone would imagine. We live on minimum wage, and whatever money we make goes towards buying oxygen cylinders. Without these cylinders, Bandar wouldn't survive.
Bandar uses up to 2 oxygen cylinders a day at a cost of 18,000 riyals, in addition to the cost of transporting them from Al Rawda neighborhood to Al Jufaina camp. While the family cannot afford the fees of travel and treatment overseas, the child's condition is getting worse every day. According to the child's father, specialists in Ma'rib were unable to locate a remedy for his condition.
I would sell whatever I had in order to pay for abroad treatment for my son, but I'm grateful I can at least afford to pay for the oxygen tanks.
Bandar's existence has become confined within 4 walls. He can only travel as far as the oxygen tank. Sickness has robbed him of his youth and plagued his dreams, rendering him unable to live a regular life or continue his education. Bandar's wish for today is to return to school as he is. Yemenis' lives have become mired in disease and poverty as a result of the war, with thousands of families rendered helpless as the economy continues to worsen. Yemenis' hopes have been dashed by the conflict, which has decimated the health sector and with it, the family's ability to cover the cost of treatment outside the country.
Rashida is an old displaced person who was forced to work and move between villages to provide food for her family after the governmental agencies and international humanitarian organizations failed to help her. This report has more details.
With the beginning of a new day, you see her at this age racing against time, carrying her humble goods, on her way to scattered and distant villages, with the aim of selling them and obtaining a little money in order to satisfy her family's hunger. This is the case of the displaced woman Rashida, who was displaced from Al Fakhr area to the outskirts of the city of Qataba in Ad-Dala. In this modest tent, she and her family lacked the minimum necessities of life, and she resorted to using primitive methods in her household chores so that the pains of displacement haunt her wherever she goes.
I wake up during Fajr time to pray, and then I start my day moving around from one place to another in order to sell my goods. I'm raising orphans and no one is helping us. Not even the humanitarian organizations. I work really hard at this age in order to provide food for my children. These are the goods I'm selling. Sometimes people buy and other times they don't.
There are essential needs and services that are not available in this camp and other camps for the displaced in Ad-Dala. No security or stability, leading to multiplied suffering of the displaced people, their privation, and poor economic situation. More than 8,000 displaced families in Ad-Dala are threatened with diseases and the dangers of hunger and starvation. Displaced people appeal to government agencies and international humanitarian organizations in order to intervene and get them out of these miserable conditions.
Our situation this year is worse than the previous one. In this cold weather, we don't have any clothes or blankets to keep us warm. We have no furniture, food for our children, or even water. Only God knows what we are going through.
Rashida is an inspiring story of struggle in a time of war, displacement, and homelessness. After the Houthi militia forced her to leave her area and migrate to the outskirts of the city of Qataba, she was forced to work and move between cities and villages to provide food for her family and resist the bitter reality and the failure of government agencies and humanitarian organizations to provide a proper living for them, which is the condition of many displaced families.
Clashes renewed between government forces and the Houthi militia in Taz. In addition, a field military source reported that random clashes between government forces and Houthi militia took place east and west of the city. A civilian was injured as a result of a mine explosion left by the Houthi militia in Hodeidah. In addition, the correspondent of Yemen Today TV reported that the citizen exploded with a single mine left by the Houthi militia in Hais district. The reporter confirmed that the citizen sustained separate injuries in his neck and head, and he was taken to the medical point to receive the necessary treatments.
أتكلم عن مديرية عسيلان خاصة وعن معاناته من الألغام في هذه المديرية، ومن أكثر المواقف التي صابتني أني فقدت أحد أساتذتي في هذه الكلية بسبب الألغام. فقدناه بسبب الألغام، في ناس كثير تأثروا عندنا في منطقة عسيلان، في منهم يعني تحاصروا، ما قدروا حتى يأخذوا قوتهم لمدة أسابيع بسبب الألغام. كأن هذا مشروع انتقام من الشعب بأكمله، ليس يعني حرب بين جيش، كأنها إبادة، حرب إبادة لليمنيين بشكل عام.
Coming next in the news. Shabwa Main Hospital provides significant medical care.
تهامة فيها خير كبير جدا.
البيطري صمم عمان للتغذية الحيوانية بشكل عام.
نجي نعالج البقرة على طول، الحمد لله الآن لو في بقرة مريضة نعرف إيش فيها.
يهدف المشروع إلى تحسين سبل عيش مربيات الثروة الحيوانية.
قمنا بعملية تدريب المربيات، الهدف هو كيف ننتج حليب نظيف.
طبعا هناك حماس صراحة من المزارعين ودمعة شوبع.
نسبة الزيادة في الإنتاج قد تكون 99%.
Welcome back. The Culture Department in Mecca organized a memorial event to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the poet Abdulaziz Al-Maqaleh. In addition, in the event, the head of the Writers' Union in Taiz said that Al-Maqaleh is considered one of the most important writers and poets. He also talked about how he used his literature and poetry in resisting the Imami rule and British imperialism. The bodies of 7 fishermen from Mecca and Taiz were found off of the coast of Hudaydah. In addition, this comes 3 days after they went missing with their boat in Yemeni waters. The Yemeni Coast Guard Authority announced the receiving of the smuggling ship of assault guns for the Houthis. The authorities said that the Coast Guard forces in the Arabian Sea sector received the leader of arms smuggling that was seized by the U.S. Navy. The statement did not indicate that the Coast Guard had received the smugglers, who were 6 Yemeni citizens. The operation of the Shabwa General Authority Hospital has made a leap in the level of health and medical services that have touched the needs of the residents of Shabwa. It has become a daily destination for many patients from all districts and regions of Shabwa and neighboring governorates to receive free treatment in all departments. This report has more details.
The Shabwa General Authority Hospital in Shabwa Governorate constitutes a quantum leap in improving the level of health and medical services that meet the needs of the residents. Dozens of patients go to the hospital from all districts and regions, as well as the neighboring governorates, to receive free treatment.
Shabwa General Hospital, where patients receive free of charge medical treatment, was opened with the support of Khalifa Foundation and the Indian Company. Since launching, the hospital recorded more than 49,000 clinic visits. For admissions, there were 2,249 cases in the Department of Surgery, Internal Medicine and Intensive Care. Besides, the number of operations reached 1,490 until January 2023.
Citizens and patients expressed their great satisfaction with the medical and treatment services provided by the hospital, which greatly contributed to help the poor treat their patients for free, as well as saving the cost of burdens of travel to another governorate for treatment.
جيت من عدن وتلقينا العلاج بشكل كامل ما شاء الله.
I came from Aden and received full treatment, and the services here are very excellent. We thank the hospital administration and staff, as well as the governor of the province.
The hospital operates in its first phase with 8 specialized departments equipped with the latest medical technology, as well as skilled medical and technical staff from local and foreign cadres, while arrangements are being made to equip the second phase by opening the rest of the departments.
We thank the governor of Shabwa for all the efforts he made for this hospital. It saved the trouble for patients to go to any other city for treatment. The hospital offers offers good and free services.
The General Authority Hospital is considered one of the most prominent achievements that was achieved during the era of the Governor Awad al-Wazir, whose impact was evident in the surface of the governorate and its residents.
The existing departments are the orthopedics department, the general surgery department, the oral department, the ophthalmology department, the urology department, the intensive care and the emergency department. Other departments will be opened in the second phase, including the neuroscience department and the cardiology department.
The war consequences and the deterioration of the economic situation resulted in many disease exacerbation as well as injuries, and such charitable medical services can save plenty of lives.
The Minister of Oil and Minerals stated new development projects for the ministry in gas and oil derivatives sectors. In addition, after the inauguration of a new building for the oil company in Hadramaut, the minister said that the oil services companies with foreign experts are operating with confidence in Shabwa. He added that there are plans to attract investment to establish a factory in Hadramaut and to launch a tender to supply Wadi Hadramaut. The Houthi militia violated the banking sector by separating bank branches between the liberated areas and places under their control. In addition, it issued a decision of banning the commercial sector in its areas of control from dealing with 4 local banks. Yemen's government, which controls only the south part of the country, has raised the US dollar exchange rate to calculate customs duties on non-essential imports by 50%. This report has more details.
Economists warn of an economic catastrophe as a result of the government of Aden raising the price of the customs dollar, as the increase in the customs of imported materials will reach 50%, which will double the prices of consumer goods to 50% from what it is currently. Traders said that the raising of the US dollar's exchange rate used to calculate customs duties on non-essential goods by 50% effective Tuesday. The decision applies only to South Yemen, which the government controls, including the port of Aden, the country's main entry point of commodities. Hodeidah port is held by the Houthis, which has a different exchange system. Yemen imports most of its needs, with more than 7 years of war resulting in an economic collapse and leaving 80% of the population reliant on aid. Officials of Yemen's Federation of Chambers of Commerce confirmed the decision, adding that it went into effect on Tuesday. And according to sources, Yemen's cabinet meeting approved the decision to hike duties to 750 Yemeni riyals from 500 on January 8th. The amended rate for customs is still far below the current exchange rate of 1,250 riyals to the dollar in Aden, the government's interim seat, where protests have broken out over high prices and non-payment of wages. Fuel and other commodity prices spike in Aden and Ma'rib on Tuesday. Following the decision, wheat, rice, milk and medicine are exempt from duties. It's certain that the government's decision to raise customs will burden the citizens, who suffer from the cost of living crisis, especially in the light of the weakness and absence of regulatory, governing and controlling agencies.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Government says it may resort to difficult choices to make Houthis accept peace. Years of conflict have damaged key medical infrastructure in the country. Displaced women continue to struggle with making a living amid the war. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.